So welcome, already Thursday again. I always start saying what we will do today. Today is not any different. We will start today with the quiz of biomolecules, which I told you yesterday. I will give you in a moment the time to do this. Um, and after this, like you can see in my background or my font, today it will be about laboratory material and equipment. So we're going to do a little quiz without points, like an exercise that we have in Canvas, and then we're going to do um, a little task about it that you have to end in, but you probably can do a big part of it already today. So that's on the menu for today. Welcome everybody, and I invite you first to do this biomolecules quiz. So it's like 4 questions. It's just some matching, and you can find it in module 4. Let me see where I have it. I just had it, in fact. Should be here maybe. That's weird. I have to open it. It disappeared. No, here it is. So here it is, the biomolecules review questionnaire. So go ahead, guys, do this. Should not take more than 10-15 minutes. And I will have a look how you're doing. Okay.
Teacher.
So Amelia, just to tell you, also please you put your camera on. I got your work and it's fine. Just try to make sure you don't have this issue anymore with the application, okay? Because we always need the work attached, otherwise it's not valid.
Teacher, I have a question. On the fourth question, there's an option that says carbohydrates and there's one that says carbohydrate. So I don't know which one to pick.
Which question is that?
Question number 4.
I'll have a look.
Teacher, is because like I put carbohydrate in the option and it put me wrong, and the correct answer
Yeah, same,
is
teacher.
carbohydrates with S.
With an S. Yeah, same.
So I ignore the one that doesn't have an S, right?
Yeah. Why would they do that? All right. Let me correct it, okay? Should be okay now. Yeah, of course. Please let me know if you have this issue. It's probably just a typo. Let me know to adjust this in your grade, because that wouldn't be fair to lose points for this.
I got one wrong because of the carbohydrate thing.
And Dajon, Gretel, is there any reason why you don't put your camera on? Is the internet
Because
connection?
of the internet.
Okay. So far is these 12 38 answered correctly, but this 57% should also be considered. So I have your names right here to review that, okay, for you. It's very nice. We can see everything. It's very detailed.
Teacher, I think that's the other classroom.
Okay, could be. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, but I have to check theirs as well. So yeah, it's the other one. Mm. Okay, Maria Fernando, Itzel, Vera, Ian, and Ceci. Only you are missing.
Teacher, like yesterday that we were discussing the question that chooses this, and maybe this one is the other thing. Here, there's only one option, right? I mean,
Yeah, there's only one option, yes.
Teacher, I think there is something wrong with the question 4 because I took it again just to review again, and I put carbohydrates in this case, and the result was like the other one. Like
Yeah, don't worry. I'm gonna review the answers of everybody in
Okay.
question 4. Okay, I already did in some cases, so don't worry too much about it. But thanks for telling me. You should be finished right now, no? More or less.
yes, it's just one more question.
Yeah, it's my apologies for this because in Canvas it's indeed a little bit complicated to it's very strict, you know. So if one little thing it could cause an error. So we have to be very punctual and very detailed about it, and sometimes that still goes wrong. So but don't worry, it should never affect you. And whenever you discover something like that, then just let me know and I gladly correct this.
Teacher, how many attempts do we have?
Should be one. I usually give one attempt only
Okay, thank you.
because otherwise it takes too long. Anyway, I think we should continue because otherwise we're not going to finish. So let me share my screen. It's a very light lesson today. It's really not that hard. Tomorrow it's a bit more complicated. Tomorrow what we will do is like the virtual lab of using the microscope. It's a very nice thing. In fact, I'm glad we have it because in fact last year but I ordered and tech bought like 15 new microscopes. So we have a very nice laboratory right now. It's a new laboratory that's just 1 year old, and then hits the coronavirus and we cannot use it. So it's a bit sad. But for sure you will use it in the future. And I'm still glad because regarding the circumstances, we have a very nice virtual lab. It's of course not the same, but it is very close to the reality, you know, so we can do that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do here in modules, we're going to take the cruise quiz, which is basically a little quiz made for fun only, it's not for points, to know the lab material. Okay, so we can do this together. We have it here, the cruise, the laboratory equipment, and then we will start doing together this knowing the laboratory material, all of us. So the thing that you have to do, I have it right here. So it's very simple. This is what you have to do. Don't forget your name, date, and basically you just have to write the name of each thing, you know. But it will be very, very easy because we're going to see most of them now in this cruise thing. So we're going to do a little practice and then we can start doing this activity. Okay, so it's a light lesson today. It will be easy. So let's do this together. Rafael, can you read please what it says?
Which of the following materials can you use to hold a small volume liquid sample?
So what would that be?
Test tube.
A test tube, yeah. Yeah, could be okay. A test tube, yes. Next one, Javier.
Which measuring instrument can use to measure and collect 3 millimeters of solution? Uh, I don't know, a valve flask.
Oh, think about 3 milliliters is really not that much. For instance, imagine that you're sick and you take some antibiotics. Usually in the pharmacy, you get a little cup, and the dose, depending on what kind of antibiotics you use, is usually between 5 and 7 milliliters, and it's really a little thing. So a ball flask is like this, what you see in my background. I think here, that's a ball flask, what you see here behind me. That will not be accurate enough to do that. So what would you use, Gustavo? What do you think? 3 milliliters is a small amount, so you need something small to measure this. Go ahead, Gustavo. You have 50-50. Okay, Gustavo is not listening. Luna, what do you think it is?
A graduated pipette.
Yeah, exactly. This is small enough to do this. It's accurate enough, in fact, to do these small quantities. Okay. Also, in the laboratory, it doesn't matter if you're a chemist or a biologist. The smaller the volume, the bigger the impact. You know, I mean, how to say? If you have to deal with small volumes, the risk of having a mistake is higher. You know, because it's really more difficult to manipulate and to handle very small quantities than large quantities. So that's why these pipettes, they're very precise, and sometimes, especially in genetics and in medical investigation, the volume is very, very important. For instance, I remember that I was in university and I got really angry. We had a flask of 5 milliliters of a product that was called Gen Fuse. And I was still in the beginning of my study. I had no idea the importance and how expensive it was, but it was 5 milliliters and I dropped it by accident. The price of this little thing was 25,000 pesos for 5 milliliters. And what the liquid did was basically allowed bacterial DNA to be fused with other DNA. So it's very, very important, and liquids can be really expensive. So small amounts, they do matter. I learned that the hard way. So Gael, what do you think about the next question?
Maybe, I don't know, electronic scale.
Yeah, definitely, because the granateria balance is a good thing, but it's not that accurate. You know, it's something more that we used in the old days. Spectrophotometer, spectrophotometer had nothing to do with it, because that's something you use to measure how much light is absorbed or how much light goes through at a certain wavelength to detect certain components or molecules in a certain liquid. So it has nothing to do with that. So we would definitely use the electronic scale indeed. So Isabelle Trussa, Trussell, what do you think of the next one? I think you got an easy one.
It's the one on the left.
Exactly. This is a test tube. You only see the top of it, but the test tube is like one of the most commonly used things in the laboratory. Okay. Vera Sofia, what would a flask be? I think it's also an easy one.
The one in the center.
Yeah, exactly. That's a flask. This flask, or we also call them Erlenmeyer, you know, this is the guy who started to make them. They have the advantage that they have a conic shape. It allows the flask to be stable. Also, the fact that the entrance and the exit is small reduces the risk of contaminating whatever you have inside. So it's definitely this one. Julieta, what do you think? Can you read and tell me what you think? Julieta? Okay, she's not here for the moment, it seems.
Yes, sorry.
Ah, you are here, okay. What do you think, Julieta?
Hello?
Yeah.
Where can you place a sample slide?
Yeah.
In the, I don't know.
It's what we mainly use in biology.
The first one?
Yeah, of course. In this one, yes. Well done. Well, Anapa, what do you think of this one?
Required all time.
Yeah. Even in biology, because sometimes students, they tell me like, yeah, but we don't work with acids and we don't work with dangerous substances. But it's really important to have a lab coat at all time because it indicates that you're working in the laboratory. It's like a rule in all laboratories around the world, and it really protects you and others with whatever you are doing, you know. So whenever we will have presential classes, we will use the lab and you will have to get your lab coat. They sell it. There is a shop with professional clothing in Venustiana Carranza. I've seen once. But I also heard, and I've seen it, in fact, that they also sell it in Soriana. It's not that expensive. And buy your nice lab coat, and then you can use it all the time. Also in biology is important, guys, because if you work with bacteria or if you work with alga or whatever kind of things, in biology you have something which is called biohazard, you know. So it's important to be hygienic and clean about this because you don't want to contaminate things and you don't want to contaminate yourself. Of course, we would never work with dangerous bacteria or virus or cells or something, but it's always important. So very good answer. It's required all time. Okay. How, Adrian, how would you observe bacterial growth?
In a petri dish.
Okay, yes, indeed. A petri dish can be like a small circular dish, let's say, can be made of plastic, can be made of glass. And we usually add some agar to it, which is made of alga, and this is like a nutrition for the bacteria that grow. I've worked here in Saltillo in a laboratory. What they do is they check if food is contaminated before it goes to the shop. So they check chorizo, papitas, sabritas, whatever. So they mix it. They put the food on top of a petri dish with the nutrients for the bacteria in case there are bacteria, and then you observe if there is bacterial growth or not. If there is bacterial growth, of course, it cannot go to the shop because it means that your food sample is contaminated and you have to revise your production process. So petri dish is a very good answer. Cecia, what do you think of the next one?
Which instrument can you use to mix a solution? I don't know. Glass rod?
Yeah, glass rod. However, a glass rod is like, to say it in Spanish, it's like a little stick or palito de vidrio. Yeah, it's a little stick of glass. But nowadays it's not used that often anymore. It depends what you use, but sometimes we have these machines and they shake. So you put the thing on top of it and the machine starts shaking, and that's how you mix it. Because the disadvantage of a glass rod is that you have to make sure that it's sterile, you know, especially in biology. If you have a contaminated glass rod and you can contaminate it by just touching it, and you put it in your fluid, then you already have a variable in your experiment that you don't know, and you can have weird results, you know. So it's especially in science, it's very important that you're punctual and mind the details, because if you don't have the controlled experiment and you have this variable inside the experiment, and for instance you contaminated it with dirty hands, it might generate a result that you don't expect, and you might not even know why you got that result. In fact, certain things in science, they came to the surface by this kind of accidents, you know, that they had discovered things just because of an accident, you know. One example I think about, it was a medicine that they developed, and they thought it was of a plant, but the plants, they were contaminated with certain beetles, and it was in fact the active component of the medicine was not a plant, but it was like some kind of enzyme the beetle released. And it was discovered in a funny way, because it was a scientist who wasn't so clean, that didn't clean the plants enough, and then it got contaminated, but really he got a positive results. But of course it could be the other way around as well. Very often it causes experiment to fail, in fact, instead of succeeding, you know. Otra Isabella, Toluma, or what's your name? Tolsma. Yeah,
Tolsma.
Tolsma. What do you think of this one?
A graduated cylinder.
Yeah, very good. A graduated cylinder, possibly you have it even in your kitchen somehow. Graduated cylinder tells you really, you can see depending on the fluid you put in how much you need. So it's volumetric because you can measure volumes with it, okay? Awesome. Okay, that's it. So now what we can do is we got some practice right now, and we can continue with the homework we can do together to start with. We're not going to do it all together, but we can start doing it together. So never forget your name, your ID, and the group. Guys, not everything in here, we have seen it in the cruise before. So don't tell me we haven't seen it. What you do is you consult internet and you look for it, okay? That's basically the objective of things, you know. If it's not, if it's things you haven't seen before, then do the research and try to find the name of it, okay? Sometimes more than one name can be accurate, you know, because you can, like we will see. So this first one, how would you call that? Itzel, what do you think? This one.
You repeat it, please.
This first image, what would you call that? What would its name be? It's a bottle with a long neck and a spherical body. It is designed for uniform heating of different substances. I don't like this bottle very much because if you always need some kind of tool to grab it, and if you put it on your desk, it falls. So you have to be very careful with this one. But it's useful because you have uniform heating, and circular is always the best because you don't have accumulation of things in the corners. So it is important in the lab, okay? So what would the name be of this one?
Ball flask?
Yeah, exactly. Round flask or ball flask. Very good. Okay, then the next one, what would this one be? Okay, it's my son screaming again. Who can do the next one? So this one here. Okay, so
me?
Yeah, Gustavo, go ahead.
A distillation flask?
Yeah, very good. It's a distillation flask. What happens is you heat up the substance here. You close it usually on the top, And what happens is that the vapor goes in this tube and then it cools down and it condenses, and then you can have separation of two fluids, or you can purify something. It's used for several purposes. Okay, then this one, the third one, it has two names, even three names sometimes. How would you call this one, Maria Fernanda?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, there are too many Fernandas, so I didn't know. I just know the name in Spanish, but Elevator Flask.
Yeah, it's the most common name is Erlenmeyer. Not even flask, just Erlenmeyer. What they also call it is a conical flask. Could be another one. I'm not going to give you all the answers. I'm just helping out a little bit that you have less homework. Okay. This one, Vera Sofia, what do you think? These ones we have a lot in tech. They're specially used because they're very accurate. You know, they're really made to have exact amount of volume. So you have the 200 milliliter ones we have in tech. We have the 500 milliliter ones, the 250, the 50, the 100, and the 150, I believe, or 150. I'm not really sure, but we have a lot of them. And you will also be surprised about the price of those things, because students, they drop them now and then. And I tell you without any lie that this is expensive stuff, you know. It depends on the size, but they go from 800 to 1,200 pesos each. Because they're so accurately made, they have to pass quality control. So there is nothing in the laboratory is cheap. Everything is really expensive. I was also surprised by the price of these things. So be careful with it. So how do we call these things? You will definitely use it next year in chemistry and biology. We don't use it, but I also teach chemistry. And we use them in several labs. Don't destroy them, guys.
I think it is the volumetric flask.
Yes, very good, Vera Sofia. It's indeed a volumetric flask because it has a fixed volume, and it's the one that really you can be assured that you have very accurate volume. So next one, Soju, what do you think? This triangle thing, it's to put things in a flask. We can also use it for filtering things.
Funnel.
Funnel, yeah, very good. It's a funnel. Ana Pao, you raised your hand as well. Okay. Yeah, funnel, you can write that down. Then the next one, I can do it. We already said it, funnel. And then the next one, this is what you use to heat up certain flasks. So this is very interesting because this thing that always falls here in the beginning, it fits nicely on those things, this one here, so they don't fall. Alternatively, you can use a stand and some kind of pinzas or some kind of fingers that take the flask so that they don't fall. But we use this one usually to heat up, okay? And so sometimes you use both, you know, you use this thing and you use the stand so they don't fall. But how do you call that? That's my name, my question. Itzel, what do you think? Or you already answered something?
Already answered, but which one you said?
Yeah, this circular thing with three
Sorry,
legs.
if my camera is not on, I'm having a lot of issues with internet, so.
Okay, yeah, don't worry, it's okay. So how would you call this ring with 3 feet on it, or three legs?
Oh. I don't know, teacher.
Let's Google it. Ana Sofia, what do you think? It has several names as well.
Maybe a tripod?
Yeah, sure.
Could be tripod, or you could also call it
tripod.
Tripod.
I've seen it as that.
Yeah, it's tripod is fine. They also call it ring stand. because it's like a ring on the top. Other people give it other names. It's important that you, if you do this thing and you can give me 2 names each, is even better, you know, because it really depends who you're working with, how they call it, and it's always nice that you know the 2 names, because I mean, if we go to Erlenmeyer and conical flask, I think Erlenmeyer is used a little bit more than conical flask. But if somebody tells you, "Hey, give me the conical flask," and you don't know what they're talking about, I mean, it's always good to know the different names of a similar thing, you know. Yeah, this is super easy. Who wants to do that one, Gretel? Haven't heard you.
Well, for the description, it sounds like a distillation tube, but
This one, oh, is not a distillation tube. We saw it in the cruise thing, which we did before in Canvas. It's like the most commonly thing used in a laboratory, in fact.
Test tube.
Yeah, of course, it's a test tube. We have many of those as well. Okay, now it gets more difficult. Ian Marco, how would you call this one? They're both similar things. They both do the same thing. Basically, what happens is that you connect this thing, you connect it often to this one. Okay, and then what happens here is you connect a water supply to it, and the water flows, so it cools down all the vapor that runs through the tube. When the water cools down the tube, condensation is happening. This is exactly the same thing, but with the difference, it has this egg-shaped tube. It's more expensive, this one. So this allows for the vapor to stay longer in the chamber. So this you would use for more volatile substances that need longer time for condensation than this one. But basically, it's used for the same thing. You can use both to make tequila with it, you know, or whiskey or whatever. But in the lab, you can use it to separate 2 different liquids. So how do we call these ones?
I don't know, distillation tube.
Yeah, that's correct. The distillation tube, however, it's, yeah, there's a better one. So I'm gonna, it's not entirely wrong. They do call it distillation tube, but there is a better name for it. So I'm gonna leave that for you to do to finish this, and then I'll check it, okay? You can find it all in internet. It's not so hard, guys. We're gonna leave it here for today. And I wish you a very happy afternoon, and we see each other tomorrow for the last class and our virtual lab of the microscope, okay?
Okay.
Guys, before you go, I made a little mistake. I was telling you yesterday something about doing a quiz on Monday, and that's because I got confused, because normally the classes of biology have always been Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. However, this year is not the case because of the digital thing we have. You know, we have the digital classes. So in fact, we're not gonna have a quiz on Monday because you don't have classes on Monday, but you do have the first partial on Wednesday, okay? Take that into account. Nevertheless, there's not really a problem about this. I just want to correct myself, because we have done enough quizzes and you have enough exercises and activities done in order to be well prepared for the first partial. In the end, we haven't seen that much. If you revise everything that we did so far, I'm sure you will do a good job on Wednesday, okay? So just to correct that part. So that's it, guys. Take care. If there are no more questions, you're free to go.
Thank you.
You're
Bye.
welcome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. See you.